Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. We got another week of Commanders coverage for you guys here. And, of course, this week it is mandatory minicamp in Ashburn, Virginia, where the Commanders are practicing. They've got their shells on. They do a bunch of different drills and a bunch of different team periods and all the different stuff that you want to see at this point during the offseason. We've got the latest updates for you guys from today's practice and more on today's show. First up, the latest from Commanders mandatory minicamp. Some more takeaways after day 2 of practice wrapped up just a couple of hours ago. Then we'll get into why I think the Washington Commanders will win the NFC East division this year. Yes, even over last year's Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Then we'll finish up today's show with the Commanders Report live mailbag, where you guys have an opportunity to get your questions on the burgundy and gold right here on the show, right next to me. If you want to get a question on the show for free today, all you have to do is go down there in the live chat room, use hashtag Commanders, and then you guys can get your question in to potentially get on the show. So the way that it works, guys, the real ones know this. If you go down there in the live chat room, go hashtag Commanders, then put your question in after hashtag Commanders. So, for example, you put in a comment, say hashtag Commanders, will Washington win the division this year? And I will answer that question for you guys. So if you got something that you want to get on the show, hashtag Commanders gets you on the show. And if you guys super chat, you guarantee that your question gets on the show this week. So that's any dollar amount, $1, $2, $5, $10, doesn't matter. If you guys super chat, we'll make sure to get you on today's Q&A. And with that, let's bring on our producer today, Mr. Joey Petersen. Joey, how is it going? It's another week here on the Commanders Report. Hopefully our computer doesn't completely blow up on us this week.
Yeah. First off, shout out to the 5 people who just put questions in. Nice and early.
Yeah, nice and early. Get the questions in now.
That's what I'm talking about. And I'm doing well, man. Yeah, hopefully we can get through it all today without having to change studios. Shout out to everybody who stuck with us and was a little patient last week, waited for us to change, check some graphics, get going again. Shout out to all the real ones who stay with us. Hopefully we don't lose any computers today.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we don't have to change studios like we did last week. We're not expecting it to. This one has been working just fine. But today it is day 2 of mandatory minicamp there in Ashburn. Joey and Terry McLaurin is not there. Now, I'm not worried about this. I've been saying for a long time, expect things to get a little ugly this offseason, him not showing up to things. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts posting some stuff on Instagram and Twitter and doing the stuff that receivers do to get their money. But I think that Terry kind of knows that he has the leverage here, and the Commanders maybe probably don't want to pay him his asking price, whatever it is. But I think Terry kind of knows that they need him to compete for a Super Bowl this year. So I think that it'll eventually get done.
Do you think his asking price is more than what you thought it was going to be? Because I know you projected about $33 million. Do you think he's asking for more than that?
I mean, like, what do you think? Like Justin Jefferson, like 35?
I don't know.
I think 33 is fair.
I agree, but if they're kind of being thrown off by it,
I
feel like they should have expected something around 33.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too, but maybe Terry's asking for 35. I mean, Terry's awesome, man. He's a top 10 receiver in the game. We love Scary Terry McLaurin on this channel, absolutely. But, like, if the price tag is $35 million, like, I think if push came to shove, I'd probably pay it if I absolutely had to. But, like, that's a lot of dough.
It is a lot.
That's Justin Jefferson level money for somebody that's just about to turn 30.
Exactly.
And it's not like I think Scary Terry's, like, not going to be able to play well, or I think he's going to regress or anything like that. And I think, like I said, push comes to shove, I want to win a Super Bowl this year, so maybe slightly overpaying for Scary Terry McLaurin would be worth it. But I think $33 million, what DK Metcalf got from the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, is more than fair. So I guess we'll see where everything goes down. But in terms of my concern level, it might be at a 2. Like, I'm not really that concerned about it.
I'm probably at like a 3.
Yeah, and Terry's a great player. He doesn't have to be there for mandatory minicamp. He can take the fine, and if he gets, paid what he's expecting to get paid, a $100,000 fine is going to be nothing for him, in the grand scheme of things here. Before we get into our first segment today, if you guys want a shout out to kick off today's show, type me in the chat right now for a shout out. I see your boy Football Elite, DJ KJ is here. We got Richard Barker. We've got Pokey Chaser. We got Orlando Carmona. We got JD5. We've got Fantastic Fun. We've got ZX. We've got Richard Barker. We've got Cassie Voth, my lovely girlfriend, of course, is here. Everyone say hi to Cassie in the chat. We got Uptown Dre is here. We got JG in the chat. We've got a good crew here already. Jasmine Gray already getting her question in the live chat room. And again, guys, get your questions in. Hashtag Commanders. If you have a question on the Commanders, I'd be happy to answer it later in today's show. First up, the latest Commanders news and rumors from mandatory minicamp. We got some updates that I want to keep you guys informed on here. Then later in the show, I'll let you guys know why I think the Commanders will win the NFC East over the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants this year. And then, of course, we'll get to your questions to finish up today's show. So it's another week of the Commanders Report live show. Let's kick it off right now. Today was day 2 of Commanders mandatory minicamp in Ashburn, Virginia. And today I'm going to be letting you guys know all the latest that we are getting from minicamp practices. And, stay tuned here, guys, because a starting player for the Washington Commanders on offense today left practice on a cart, and it's not looking particularly good at this point in time. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already to help out the channel. It's a free and easy way to help us out here at the Commanders Report, and we provide this content for you guys for free on this channel. So if you appreciate, our efforts here at the Commanders Report to give you guys the best Commanders content daily, every single day, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to help us out. So the player that got injured at practice today was starting wide receiver Noah Brown. He made a catch on a play. He went down, and then he did walk off the field, but pretty gingerly. This is from Ben Standig from The Athletic, saying Noah Brown was just carted off the field following a catch on the ground, stayed down for a few extra beats, then slowly walked to the sideline, then carted to the building. Then John Keim from ESPN said Noah Brown heading inside via the cart. He's sitting up with a towel over his head. That's not a good sign if a player has a towel over his head. He might be crying. Happened in a 7-on-7 drill. So listen, man, Brown walking off on his own power, even gingerly, is, somewhat of a good sign. Now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but, if the cart had to go out there on the field and he couldn't even get off the field, that would have been a really, really bad sign. We still don't have official word on what the injury is at the time of me recording this video, but we will keep you updated on all the latest surrounding Noah Brown and his injury. It looks like a lower body injury, and obviously this isn't ideal, guys, because, even with Noah Brown, you look at this wide receiver room. Terry McLaurin is at mandatory minicamp. I do expect him to be there in time for the season. Deebo Samuel, of course, is in this room. But in terms of that third wide receiver, there's definitely some limbo, and there's definitely going to be some competition between guys like Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, the rookie out of Virginia Tech this year. And some people, make the argument that the Commanders don't really have a true number 3 receiver on their roster. So losing Noah Brown, who really had a decent season for the Washington Commanders last year, if he's out for the season, or if this is serious, that is certainly something that could shake things up here in the Washington Commanders wide receiver room. And it's even possible that they could look towards free agency if they don't think Luke McCaffrey or Jalen Lane is ready to take on that third wide receiver role. The top free agent wide receivers that I think, would maybe love an opportunity to play with Jaden Daniels, Keenan Allen, formerly with the Chicago Bears, and Amari Cooper, formerly with the Cleveland Browns and Buffalo Bills last year. Both of these guys are really good route runners. They're savvy veterans, and they're former number 1 receivers. They're no longer number 1 caliber receivers. But with their route running acumen, their veteran savviness, their experience, I think that if Noah Brown is lost for the season or lost for a very significant amount of time, the Commanders, with a team that still has some cap space here, could certainly look towards Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper to bolster the wide receiver room. So we want Noah Brown to get better fast here, guys. So if you want to send some good vibes his way, type those 85s down there in the comment section to wish Noah a speedy recovery. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Okay, now let's get to some good news here, because we just covered some bad news on Noah Brown. But Jeremy Reeves, fan favorite, locker room favorite, coach's favorite, everybody's favorite, Jeremy Reeves, gets a 1-year extension today, and he is on the team through 2026. Ian Rappaport broke the news today, saying the Commanders have signed special teams ace Jeremy Reeves, one of the NFL's highest paid at his position, to a 1-year extension. He's now under contract with the team through 2026. Now, Reeves is more of a special teams ace, but this year, Dan Quinn said that he might actually find a role on defense. We actually predicted this in our extension candidates video that I will put in the comments and description of today's show. I'll also put the chip in the top right corner, but I couldn't be happier for Jeremy because he is somebody that, like we said in our extension candidates video, and why I thought he was worthy of an extension is because he is somebody that is one of, if not the best special teams player in the National Football League. He's a great locker room presence. As Dan Quinn, the head coach, said today at his press conference, he is a BMF, meaning a bad mother effer, okay? You know, the Samuel L. Jackson quote, all right? So he is somebody that everybody loves in the locker room. He's somebody that fans love because of his high-effort style of play. And according to Dan Quinn, he's making plays on defense, not just on special teams during the early portions here of the offseason program. So I think this is a really smart move by Washington. Lock up your guy, somebody that really fits the culture of your team, somebody that brings value for sure to special teams, and then could potentially carve out a role for himself on the defense this year as well. And if he can be a really good value for you on defense as well as special teams, and you got this deal done before he becomes a free agent next offseason, you get Jeremy Reeves, a really, really good player on a really, really good contract once again next season. Another thing that Dan Quinn mentioned during his press conferences this week is that Brandon Coleman, the offensive lineman, last year's mid-round pick out of TCU, is moving to left guard. He confirmed it. He said for the move inside, Brandon Coleman was ready to begin that process early. So it started prior to him even getting to the offseason program in his training, working on different sets to do that. He's a rare guy because he's got the width and the bulk to play inside, but the athleticism to play outside. He's really locked in on the techniques that it'll take to move. So I really do think that Coleman, I even said this coming out. You guys will remember if you were with us for our draft night coverage back in 2024, I said I think he's more of a guard. And, the reason for that is I don't think he really marries his feet with his hands all that well. But when you play inside, you don't have to be, your hand-eye coordination and stuff like that doesn't have to be as precise as when you're playing inside. And he is a big boy with a lot of strength and a lot of length. And he is somebody that can absolutely be a success at the guard position, in my opinion. So I'm really excited for this move. I think he's going to be a big-time upgrade compared to what Nick Allegretti gave you at this position last year. And then, of course, you got that big upgrade in Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, who's going to be much better than Brandon Coleman was last year. So coming up, day 2 practice takeaways. We've got some notes that I want to share from you guys from Commanders practice. But before we get into that, I want to give you guys a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, because I want to give you guys an opportunity to get a Jaden Daniels jersey for yourselves. I think this is a jersey you're going to be able to wear for the rest of your life, because I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a Commanders legend. Cross our fingers. I mean, hopefully, what happened to RG3 doesn't happen to Jaden Daniels, but I don't think it will. I think Jaden's going to be an elite quarterback in this league for a long time. I think he'll be the next quarterback in Commanders history to hoist a Lombardi trophy. Once again, knock on wood. But if you guys want to get his jersey today, go chatsports.com/Daniels to make that happen. If you click our link, it's down there in the comments and description of today's show, and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds to help us keep the lights on, pay rent, do all the things that we need to do here to keep this content free here on the Commanders Report. So if you're planning on getting a Daniels jersey this offseason, anyway, in preparation for the 2025 campaign, this is your opportunity to get that done today. Go to chatsports.com/Daniels to make it happen. So my first note from day 2 of Commanders minicamp practice is I think Marshon Lattimore is flying around out there, okay? Last year Lattimore dealt with a hamstring issue, and he didn't really look like himself, and because of that, some Commanders fans are skeptical that Marshon Lattimore is still a good player because to be frank, he got toasted twice by A.J. Brown late in the season last year when they faced up against the Eagles. But it looks like he's back to 100% out there in terms of his closing speed, in terms of everything that he needs to do athletically to play his brand of physical cornerback play. It looks like he's absolutely able to do that. He was covering, actually, Noah Brown on a route today where it was an in-cut, and, Noah got some separation on him, but the closing speed to be able to squeeze that route and then break up the pass was super impressive to see from Marshon Lattimore, who, by the way, is changing his number to number 2. It's the number he wore in college with the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I think it's a good look. I think he's going to be a great player for this defense this year, and he's showing out here during minicamp. Then we get to another corner that's been playing well here, and that's Jonathan Jones, the free agent that they brought in this offseason who, is getting the first crack at the first team defense. All right. Now, Trey Amos has been really, really impressive as well early on during the offseason progress, and I do think that he will eventually be the number 2 starting corner for the Commanders defense this year, if not week 1, then very shortly after that. But Jonathan Jones is certainly doing a good job for himself as well. He has been really sticky in coverage, really looking like a true number 2 corner. Jones didn't have the greatest season last year with the New England Patriots, which is why he's probably going to be delegated to more of a rotational or even kind of depth role here with the Washington Commanders. But having a depth corner as good as Jonathan Jones, who's played as much NFL football as he has as a starting level outside and inside corner, I mean, it's invaluable, the value that he is bringing to this secondary. Then we get to somebody else. We talked about Trey Amos showing out a bit here. How about another rookie? Jacory Krosky-Merritt, the 7th-round rookie out of Arizona. Didn't really play much last year because of an eligibility dispute, but he will not be ignored in these practices, guys. His jump cut is electric. His speed, it just jumps out at you when you watch the practice. And Lake Lewis Jr. posted this on his X account earlier today. Jacory Krosky-Merritt just showed his speed off on an outside zone round that he took to the house for 60 yards. All right. So, Jacory Krosky-Merritt is somebody that ever since rookie minicamp has been showing out in the various drills and in the team periods and all that different stuff. And, I kind of laugh whenever I see an article kind of, connecting James Cook or somebody else, another running back, to the Washington Commanders, because apparently Brian Robinson Jr. has been looking pretty darn good this offseason. Austin Eckler's looking like Austin Eckler, and then Jacory Krosky-Merritt is looking like he's going to be rising up the ranks on the running back depth chart here very, very quickly. So when people say, the Commanders should add another running back, I completely disagree with that. I think that this running back room is actually in a good spot, especially when you take into account that Jaden Daniels is another running back out on the field at all times. I don't think that they need to make a big splash move or spend a lot of money on another running back when you have the guys that you already have in your room. Then we get to another young player here, Jordan McGee, who looks like a starter. So Bobby Wagner was not there at practice yesterday. He had a personal matter he had to attend to, so Jordan McGee took his spot as the starting inside linebacker during team periods, and McGee is looking ripped, he is looking fast, and he is looking ready to take on a much larger role in Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr.'s defense this year, and they're expecting a big jump from him this year, not only in terms of the snaps, but in terms of the production as well. And what's interesting about McGee is that even though he's a linebacker and Jeremy Chin was technically a safety, it's possible that McGee kind of fills that quote-unquote bandit role in this defense because he is undersized for a linebacker, but he is incredibly quick for a linebacker as well. So if you're looking for kind of that middle defender to play that bandit role within this defense, the J-Ron Curse type, the Jeremy Chin type, there's other candidates on this Commanders roster that could fill that role. Tyler Owens, Dominique Hampton, others, Robert McDaniel, the UDFA out of Jackson State. But Jordan McGee, as an undersized linebacker, could potentially be a candidate for this job as well. And honestly, right now, I would say out of all the candidates, he might be the one in the pole position at this point in time. Then we get to Tyler Owens, another potential bandit type of player who we talked about yesterday. He is looking absolutely jacked. He looks like an absolute specimen out there. And Owens is being moved around quite a bit. They're moving him around from bandit to true strong safety to deep safety to linebacker. And they're even using him a little bit as like a Frankie Louvu type, specialty pass rusher. Because just look at this guy, man. Like, I know he's covered up by a coach, but like he is huge for a safety, all right? He looks like a legitimate linebacker out there. And Joe Witt Jr. said in his press conference earlier this week that he could see Owens being a quote-unquote Louvu type of player where, they move him all around the formation. They blitz him. They use him as a linebacker. They do a bunch of different things with him. The Commanders have a high level of belief in Tyler Owens, and, you can tell he's putting in the work this offseason. All right, that'll be it for my notes and takeaways from day 2 of Commanders Mandatory Minicamp. If you want my updates for tomorrow's practice, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until tomorrow, guys, hail to the Commanders. All right, Joey, first segment in the books, one more to go where I'm going to be telling you why I think the Commanders win the NFC East division this year, even over the Eagles. That's right, I said it.
Is there a chance? Is there a world that the Eagles take any sort of like a big step back, or do you still see them
Yes.
being Like what's a big step back in your opinion? Is there a chance? Is there a world where they win less than 10 games?
I think it's possible they don't win a playoff game this year.
Okay. Why so?
So
And I don't want you to spoil any of what you got next, but
I mean, I'm gonna be breaking this down, but essentially, I don't think Saquon Barkley is gonna have as special of a season as he had. I still think their defense is gonna be really good. I still think, generally speaking, they're gonna be a good team, but I have a feeling that Barkley is not going to be like the generational type of season that he had last year. And I think without that, I don't think Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Eagles surrounding cast is going to be good enough to hoist another Lombardi trophy. And I think the Commanders are on the rise this year with Jaden Daniels getting even more comfortable. You have Deebo Samuel added to the offense. I think the run game is going to be better than it was in years past. The offensive line is much better this year than it has been in years past. Secondary is a lot better this year. We're going to cover all that in our next segment here. We got $10 super chat from my man John Masood. We will get to him here in just a second. But if you guys have a question, you want to get on the show, we got one more segment. Then we're getting to the mailbag. If you want to get that question on the mailbag today, you can do it for free by going down there in the live comments section and use hashtag Commanders, then put your question at the end of it. So, for example, you guys can go hashtag Commanders. Will Jaden Daniels have over or under 40 touchdowns this year? Or whatever question you want. You put that in there, and we can get it on the show today for free. Or if you want to guarantee that your question gets on the show, you can super chat like my man John Masood. And he says, Jack, Cassie, Joey, Redskins go 12-5 just like they did last year. I could see it happening, Joey. Like, let's face it. The Commanders went on a run at the end of last season. You know, just they got hot, all right? And there was a point during that season where, like, before that last kind of run, you know, they were kind of floating around 500.
Before the Hail Mary.
It was even after the Hail Mary. They lost some games. Jaden had that tough stretch. Yeah. But then, like, the final 4 or 5 games of the year, can't remember how many games in a row it was, but they just went on a tear. They even came back with Marcus Mariota against the Cowboys and beat them in Dallas in the season finale. And then, of course, you win the 2 games in the postseason. But, you know, I think, you know, it's very possible that even though the Commanders are a better football team this year, that they do end with a record of 12-5, which, by the way, is a great record. That's going to put you right in position to potentially win the division. Right? Like, it's just, you know, sometimes you win some games that you shouldn't have won or whatever. The Hail Mary game last year, you know, that's the difference between 12-5 and 11-6 for that Commanders team last year. But yeah, you know, people saying 15-2 or 16-1 or 17-0 for the Commanders this year, I think that's maybe overdoing the expectations a little bit. This is the National Football League. Everybody's good.
You still don't have the best defensive line. That's really big.
Yeah, if you don't get Hendrickson, you don't have a great defensive line. But, you know, I'm looking at this group right now. It's still a very good football team. I still think they're going to be in contention to win a Super Bowl. And they can do that with 12 wins. Like, I go on this channel, Joey, and I say, I think they can win 12 games. And I get called all kinds of names in the comments section, idiot, all this different stuff for saying that they're going to win 12 games and potentially win the division. I'm making the case today for why I think they're going to beat the Super Bowl champions and be the new division champs this year. But, hey, I guess I don't believe in the Commanders enough, right?
No one's ever happy.
Yeah, no one's ever happy.
12 wins isn't good enough.
I don't believe in this team enough, apparently, right? $5 from a Leaf. What's up, my man? Says Tunsil, Coleman, Biotish, Cosme, Connerly. Sounds like Hogs 2.0 to me. Well, that's definitely a lot to live up to there. The Hogs were a legendary group, right? So that's like saying, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, they have a very good pass rush coming up this year. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, you know, Derek Harmon, a first-round rookie, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benson. You know, if people said, oh, that's the next Steel Curtain, and it's like, I don't know, dude. That's a lot of Hall of Famers on that Steel Curtain. I don't know. But, you know, very talented groups for sure. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Appreciate the $5 super chat, a Leaf. All right, with that, let's get into our next segment of the day. I'm letting you know why I think the Commanders will win the NFC East division this year. Today on the Commanders Report, I'm going to list 5 reasons why I think that the Washington Commanders will win the NFC East in 2025. And yes, that includes over last year's Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get into my case for why I think the Burgundy and Gold will win the East this year, get us started down there in the comments section by letting me know the percent chance that the Commanders win the division this year. Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance they win the division, to 100, meaning they are definitely taking home the East crown this year. So the first reason why I think that the Commanders have a pretty darn good chance of winning the division this year is that there hasn't been a repeat champion in this division since 2004. Okay, that is over 2 decades since there has been a repeat champion. And over that span, there's been a lot of different scenarios there where the preseason favorite to win the division was heavily favored. And lo and behold, they did not win the division come the end of the season. So you haven't had that repeat champion. Of course, you have multiple good teams in this division. I think that somebody else is going to be crowned the champion of the NFC East this year, not the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why I don't think it's going to be the Eagles, guys, is because I think Saquon Barkley is heading towards a regression. All right, and this happens every single year. There is a running back that dominates the league and leads the league in rushing, and everybody thinks they're going to be just as good the following year. But the reality is, guys, running back takes a toll on the body, all right? And if you are running it as much as you are running it to lead the league in rushing yards the previous season, your body is not fully recovered by the time that the new season arrives. And usually either they get hurt or they don't have nearly as good of a season as they had the year prior. Also, the not-so-serious reason when it comes to why Saquon's going to regress is the Madden curse. And, of course, this is well documented. A lot of players that are on the cover of Madden either get injured or they don't have a good season statistically. I think Barkley will be the next victim of the Madden curse. But, obviously, that has nothing to do with actual reasoning for why he will regress. I think the actual reason why Saquon won't be as good this year as he was last year during his generational season is because usually these guys that lead the league in rushing and all this different stuff, they don't follow it up the following season. Let's take a look at the last several rushing leaders in the National Football League. All right, Derrick Henry back in 2020 led the league in carries, yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards per game. The next season, he didn't have nearly as many carries. He ended up getting injured. He had less than 1,000 yards rushing, much less in terms of the touchdown number. And far less yards per carry. So the efficiency numbers were not as good. Then you get to Jonathan Taylor the next year, right? In 2021, led the league in carries, yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards per game, just like Henry did. Next year, what do you know? Injuries, 192 carries, once again, under 1,000 yards rushing, and way less touchdowns. And once again, the efficiency number went down significantly, a full yard less yards per carry. Okay, then you get to Josh Jacobs the following year, all right? Like, once again, a huge decrease in carries, half the yardage, half the touchdowns, and then once again a big drop in efficiency, 4.9 yards per carry in 2022, going to 3.5 in 2023. Then you get to Christian McCaffrey, where he had incredible numbers, not only as a rushing leader with over 1,400 yards rushing, but he was also great as a pass-catching weapon as well. Nobody thought McCaffrey was going to dip. Well, last year, dealt with injuries, only had 50 carries for 200 yards and no touchdowns, right? So McCaffrey took a big step back last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So why can't the same thing happen to Saquon Barkley? In fact, I think it will happen to Saquon Barkley this year. And another thing here is that Saquon's 28. He's not getting any younger, guys. And the older he gets and the more punishment that body takes, the more likely that injuries are going to happen. That's just the reality of the situation for running backs in the National Football League. And if Saquon regresses, guys, I think the Eagles as a team as a whole regress. All right, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is not as good as a lot of people think he is because he won the Super Bowl. But the reality is Saquon in that run game and the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting for Hurts last year. All right, Hurts played great down the stretch in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship. I don't want to take any of that away, and I do think he's a good quarterback. But is he an elite one? I don't think so. And if you take away Saquon's ability to close out games in the fourth quarter, I don't think the Eagles are nearly the same team than they were last year when they won the whole thing and won the division. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comments section. The Eagles will regress this season. Type T for true or F for false. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by typing T for true or F for false. when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. All right, maybe the Eagles will regress, but why can't the Dallas Cowboys, a very talented roster, come in and steal the division? I would say it's possible if Brian Schottenheimer, their new head coach, knows what he's doing, and if George Pickens can keep his nose clean and not fight with people the entire season. Good luck with that, by the way. But when it comes to the Cowboys, as Stephen A. Smith likes to say, guys, what can go wrong will go wrong. And when you got a head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, who I do not believe in, and you interject a player like George Pickens, who has problems both on and off the field, doesn't show up to meetings on time, isn't a team player, all this different stuff. I think it's a powder keg there in Dallas. And for me, I don't think they're going to have a very good season. I think it'll be okay, but I don't think it'll be enough to win a division championship over the Commanders. And then when it comes to the New York Football Giants, they're the Giants, all right? They got a bunch of different quarterback options. They got a rookie that they're probably going to be turning to at some point this season. They have a brutal schedule this year. I don't think that they're good enough as a team. I think they got a very good pass rush, and they will win some games they're not supposed to win because of that. But on the whole, I don't think the Giants are going to be a threat to the Commanders in the division either. So my final reason, all right, we've been talking about a lot of different stuff that has nothing to do with the Washington Commanders. We've been talking about the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants for why I think those teams won't win the division. I think the Commanders, though, are the team that's on the rise in this division. I think the Commanders will be even better this year than they were last year as a football team. Last year, 12-5 and made the NFC Championship game, and that was with a defective offensive line, with a defective cornerback room, all right, with a bunch of injuries to that group the entire season. All right, this year's team is better. They have revamped the offensive line. They've revamped the defense. And also, Jaden Daniels, the heart and soul of this football team, was a rookie last year. And now he's heading into year 2 where he feels even more comfortable in Cliff Kingsbury's offense than he did just a season ago, where he had almost 70% completion percentage, had over 4,400 yards total as both a passer and a rusher, and then he had 31 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions, arguably the greatest season for a rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. And guys, I think these numbers this year are going to be even better, and he's going to be in the MVP conversation. Also, when it comes to the offense, Deebo Samuel as a gadget piece that Cliff Kingsbury can get creative with on orbit motions, jet sweeps, wide receiver screens, on dig routes, get him the ball out in space. Like, that adds another element to this offense that opposing defenses are going to have to deal with, okay? They already had to deal with Daniels' ability to process defenses, throw the ball deep, of course, his rushing ability and his playmaking ability, but now you got to know where Deebo is on the field at all times, too. So I think that is going to be something that greatly benefits this football team as well. Plus, as we alluded to earlier, like the two biggest areas that the Commanders needed to improve this offseason, they did. The offensive line and the secondary. Last year, these were liabilities for the Commanders. Now they have turned those former liabilities, in my opinion, into strengths in just one offseason. Take a look at the offensive line last year. Brandon Coleman eventually took over the starting left tackle job. He had Allegretti at left guard, Biadasz at center, Cosme at right guard, and Andrew Wiley at right tackle. He was not fantastic. Now, you get into 2025. You have arguably the best pass-protecting left tackle in football, Laramie Tunsil, who you traded for, Brandon Coleman, who I think is a more natural guard moving inside. You still have Biadasz and Cosme whenever Cosme gets back from his injury. And then you got first-round pick Josh Connerly Jr., who was one of the more pro-ready tackle prospects in this year's class, in my opinion, coming in to play right. Then you get to the secondary. Last year, Mike Sainristil, let's face it, Marshawn Lattimore was not on the field enough, all right? He barely played. Mike Sainristil was the number one corner for this team for most of the season. The Benjamin St. Juste, or Benjamin St. Toast, was their number 2 corner, with Noah Igbenogany, one of the lowest graded corners in all of football, in the slot. Quan Martin had a good year at free safety, and Jeremy Chin played all right at strong safety. But then this year, Marshawn Lattimore, fully healthy and back, is going to be your number 1. Trey Amos, a second-round pick out of Ole Miss, I think is going to be fantastic, is your CB2. And if he stinks, you got Jonathan Jones, who's a longtime pro. Then you get Mike Sainristil playing in his natural spot back in the slot. And then you got Quan Martin back, and Will Harris is a player that they really like in this defense as well. So I think both of those units are much better than what they were in 2024. And you might be saying at home, but Jack, their defensive line still doesn't have a star edge rusher. Well, it's still possible because at the time of recording this video, Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals are very much far apart on contract negotiations. It's still very possible, from my estimation, that the Washington Commanders could land Hendrickson in a trade before the start of the season. And if they do that, then I really think the Washington Commanders are going to be ready to win the NFC East and potentially the whole damn thing here in 2025. But let's go just over the NFC East prediction for me. I think the Commanders will win the division. Most people are going to pick the Eagles because they just won the Super Bowl. I do think the Eagles will make the playoffs, but they will not win the Super Bowl, and they will not win the division this year. Dallas, I think, is going to be kind of a dysfunctional mess this year, even though they have some talent on their roster. And then you got the New York Football Giants slotting in at the number 4 spot. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. What will be the NFC East standings at the end of the year? I think it goes Commanders, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. Let me know your prediction down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more videos like this one on the Washington Commanders every single day, 100% free. Oh!
Yeah, I was about to say, look at the screen.
This one's rolling in from IQ Barbecue Bag. He says hashtag HTTR IQ, 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 IQ. Everybody spam those IQs in the chat.
I was already spamming them. Oh, we got
Spam those IQs in the chat. Let's go. All right, so we did get an update here from Schefter. Says Jermaine Pratt is signing a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
That's a good deal for the Raiders because their interior linebacker group was not looking particularly good. So
Yeah,
Pratt, longtime veteran. I think that's a good one right there.
I do too, man. I think he's going to be a solid player.
He'll be a starter for them.
He had, 120 tackles last year?
I don't care about tackles for linebackers because everything's being funneled to you.
They're going to get tackles.
They're going to get tackles no matter. As long as you play 17 games, you're going to have easily over 100 tackles as a starting linebacker.
Yeah, that's fair.
But IQ coming in with the 100-piece, baby. Oh, my goodness. Spam those IQs. We've got fantastic fun in the chat. Pokey Chaser, Jasmine Gray, Reginald, Richard Barker. Everybody's chanting your name, IQ. Let's go. DJ KJ with a 5 says, will there be any trades between the Steelers and Commanders? Also, how many wins will the Commanders have this year? I'm guessing that this is in reference to either McLaurin going to the Steelers or Watt going to the Commanders. I don't think either one happens.
None.
I don't think a trade happens between these two football teams. I think that both teams are trying to compete right now, and they're both trying to win Super Bowls right now. And TJ Watt and Terry McLaurin are necessary pieces for their respective teams to win a championship. All right? I don't think the Commanders can win a championship without Terry McLaurin. I don't think the Steelers can win a championship without TJ Watt. So I think eventually both teams are going to come to deals with their respective players, and I don't expect a trade to happen between these two teams. Good question, DJ KJ. Also,
we'll start that one off.
Shaq Griffin, cornerback, is visiting the Raiders as well.
Wow.
So Raiders getting busy.
Busy day today for Las Vegas.
Getting busy a little bit.
They're over there on the West Coast. It's what, 2:38 their time? They got a lot of time.
I guess so. They're just getting started with practice over there on the West Coast.
DJ, thank you for that question. We'll make sure it is the first question on today's mailbag. Speaking of, make sure you use hashtag Commanders. We already got enough to get started, Jack. But hey, feel free, everybody, to keep getting those questions in the live chat. And hey, we'll be selecting the best of the best to make it on the episode. Appreciate all of you guys who have already asked
if you put in a question and it's not on the show, F Joey. Okay, not F Jack, because I don't choose. It's Joey's choice. All right, so if you want to make sure you get on the show, you can super chat, because then Joey doesn't have a choice. If you super chat,
I don't have a choice.
If you super chat, it has to go on the show. Or otherwise, you could just ask a really good question, because Joey picks the best questions.
Amen. Yes, I do.
Amen. All right, let's get into it right now. It's my favorite segment of the week. The Commanders Report mailbag is coming at you guys right now. It's my favorite segment of the week. It's the Commanders Report mailbag here, where I get to answer your questions on the burgundy and gold. Before we get into it today, make sure you click that subscribe button to join the most interactive fan community for Commanders fans anywhere on YouTube. We try to, really do a good job being engaging for you guys, giving you weigh-in questions every single show. Of course, so you guys can get that conversation going in the comment section. We got daily live polls on the channel as well in our poll section there. And then also we go live every single Wednesday starting at 5 p.m. Eastern, where we do these mailbags, and you get your questions on the weekly mailbag. So if you want to join us for our live show so you can get a question on a future Commander Support mailbag, you guys can click that subscribe button and join us on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll start with DJ KJ with a $5 super chat. Says, will there be any trades between the Steelers and Commanders? Also, how many wins will the Commanders have this year? So right now, there's a lot of Commanders fans that, see TJ Watt is not at Steelers mandatory minicamp and saying, let's trade for TJ Watt. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of Steelers fans that are saying, Terry McLaurin, not at Commanders minicamp. Let's trade for him because they need a receiver. And it's true. The Commanders need an edge rusher. Steelers need a wide receiver to pair with DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers. But listen, man, I just don't see either of these teams trading these caliber of players to different teams. I think that the Commanders know that their wide receiver room, it's okay, but you take Terry McLaurin out of that mix, and it is nowhere near as good as it is right now. He is a true number one alpha wide receiver, a top 10 receiver in the game. The Commanders know they need him to legitimately compete for a Super Bowl. Plus, he had 13 touchdowns with Jaden Daniels last year. It doesn't make sense to break those two apart. Then with the Steelers, TJ Watt has been the most valuable defensive player in football since he has entered the league. You just look at the Steelers' defensive numbers with him on the field versus off the field. Their win percentage when he's on the field versus off the field, it's astronomical. The Steelers are trying to win a Super Bowl this year on the one-year contract of Aaron Rodgers, and they know TJ Watt needs to be on their team in order to compete for that. So, I don't see either team having any incentive to trade these players away. So at the end of the day, I don't think either team or these two teams come to a deal. Then we get to your boy, Football Elite. It says, now that Noah Brown had an apparent injury, who do you think could step up for wide receiver 3? So I'm recording this on Wednesday, June 11th. So this is going to come out probably on Sunday. So we will have an update on Noah Brown by the time this video comes out. We do not have the official injury designation at the time of me recording this video, just so you guys know. But my best guess here is that it didn't look good at practice. He was carted off the field on Wednesday's practice. So if he's out for the season or if it's a long time, I could see them potentially getting like Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper, guys that were former number one receivers that are veterans looking for work in the NFL this year, who haven't signed on to a team. And the Commanders are one of those teams where you got Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin hopefully on the team as well, Deebo Samuel. I would think that Allen and Cooper would love to be the third piece to this offense in this wide receiver group. But also you got guys like Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, who are younger players. Perhaps the Commanders feel like one of those guys or both of them are ready to step up in Noah Brown's absence. Now, it's very possible that by the time this comes out, we hear that Noah Brown is fine and there's no issue and he's going to be back in time for the season, and they're not going to look at getting a guy like Allen or Cooper or anything like that. But it's definitely going to be an interesting situation. Got ZX here. Says Cliff Kingsbury is known for having a mid-season drop-off. Do you think it will happen again, even though he adjusted last season? Anything's possible. Cliff's, I was very impressed with Cliff last year, guys. He did a lot of things last year that he didn't do in previous seasons. He got more creative with multiple people in the backfield. He did some very interesting stuff in the quarterback run game and in the wide receiver screen game. That was new for him that we didn't see at Texas Tech or at Arizona when he was the head coach there. And then, there was a midseason drop-off last year, and then they finished the season super strong. So that's, with Cliff Kingsbury, I think that his kind of ideal role is to be an offensive coordinator. Because I think when you're a head coach and you try to be an offensive play caller at the same time, an offensive game plan designer, it's just a whole lot. You have to manage the roster. You have to manage personalities. There's a lot of different responsibilities to being a head coach versus as an offensive coordinator, it's just ball. You just focus on putting your players in the best position to succeed. And last year, I thought there was a little bit of a drop-off, but then, he adjusted. And that's something we haven't really seen from Cliff Kingsbury throughout the course of his play-calling career. So that was very encouraging to see. I have all the confidence in the world in Cliff Kingsbury heading into this year's ZX. Now it's time to be honest with me down there in the comments section. What is your confidence level in Cliff Kingsbury as this team's OC? On a scale of 1, meaning not confident at all, he's going to suck, to 10 being he's going to, be the best offensive coordinator in Commanders history. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know your confidence level in Coach Cliff. Going from Fantastic Fun 21 says, should the Commanders make a push for Jair Alexander? The answer to the question, Fantastic, is no. I was actually on board trading for Jair Alexander before the draft. I thought that it would have been a perfect situation to trade a 4th-round pick or something like that for Alexander. But the Packers end up just letting him go. But now the Commanders already added at the position, and Trey Amos, who's looking great during mandatory minicamp. By the way, Jonathan Jones, the depth outside corner, is looking good too. So there's just really no reason to bring in Jair Alexander. You traded for Marshawn Lattimore. You spent a high draft pick on Trey Amos, and then you spent a high draft pick on Mike Samerstill last year. So those are some pretty big assets that you have thrown in the direction of the cornerback position. And I think Alexander probably wants to get paid more than the Commanders are going to be willing to pay him. So I don't think there's much of a chance Alexander lands here in Washington. And who knows, maybe he's signed somewhere by the time this video comes out. Then we got one from Pokey Chaser. It says, will Deebo Samuel thrive with Jaden Daniels? Also, will Mike Samerstill move to the inside this year? So I think the right way to phrase it is Deebo Samuel will thrive in this Cliff Kingsbury offense because it's very unique, all right? You put multiple people in the backfield, orbit motions, jet sweeps, a ton of wide receiver screens early on early downs, and I think all that stuff fits Deebo Samuel's skill set to a T, all right? I also think, Jaden Daniels is really good at throwing intermediate dig routes when he's going through his progressions, and Deebo is a really good dig route runner. He doesn't have a very extensive route tree, but there are a few routes that he runs really well. The dig is one of them, and you get the ball to him out in space over that intermediate middle of the field. He's a freight train, and he can break off some incredibly explosive plays. So I think Deebo Samuel is a perfect fit for Cliff Kingsbury, and then I absolutely trust Jaden Daniels to get him the football in the correct way. So I think that's the right way to phrase it. Then Mike Samerstill will be moving back into the slot this year unless he's forced to move back outside. Let's say Amos gets injured and Jonathan Jones gets injured or something like that. And you need an outside corner. Samerstill is probably the guy that would kick out there with Igbenogany reassuming his spot in the slot. But for now, it looks like it's going to be Marshawn Lattimore, and then Jonathan Jones and Trey Amos are going to be battling it out during training camp for the number 2 starting spot, and then Samerstill will find his home in the nickel. Then we got Jasmine Gray here, says, I have a question for you, Jack. Will the Washington Commanders win the NFC East Division crown champions this year? Yes, they will, in my opinion. I think that the Eagles and Saquon Barkley in particular are ready for a regression. We saw it with the last several rushing leaders in the NFL, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey. They all regressed heavily after the year where they led the league in rushing yards. Running back is one of the more volatile positions in the NFL. And also Saquon Barkley is not only 28 and getting older, therefore more injury prone, but he has an injury history himself. I think the chances of Saquon getting injured this year are very, very high. And if that happens, even though they got a good offensive line, Jalen Hurts is a good, not elite quarterback, and their defense is legitimately really, really good with Vic Fangio, I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were last year. That's just me. I think the Commanders are on the rise. I think the Eagles are on the decline. I think the Commanders win the division this year. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, it is a free and easy way to help out our channel. So if you appreciate the content that we give to you guys for free on this channel and you want to help out the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach as many Commanders fans as possible, click that thumbs up icon. I greatly appreciate it. Now, before we get to the rest of today's questions, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Fanatics, where you guys can get a Jaden Daniels jersey in your closet today. And let me tell you, this is a jersey that I think you can wear for the rest of your life. You can go to chatsports.com/Daniels to pick up your JD5 jersey today. You can get it in burgundy. You can get it in white. They got a bunch of different color options for you guys. And then also it helps out the channel. If you click our link, chatsports.com/Daniels, and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds. We greatly appreciate your guys' support, guys. So pick up your Jaden Daniels jersey today if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate you. All right, now we get to TWD Fan Comic, who says, as it stands right now, assuming we keep Terry McLaurin, Chiefs versus Commanders, what happens and why? So I'm guessing he's talking about a potential Super Bowl matchup here. In that scenario, I would probably lean Chiefs, all right? But I think the Commanders are absolutely a team that could win it. Jaden Daniels was one of the most clutch quarterbacks statistically ever in NFL history for a season last year. So he's got nerves of steel. So I don't think the moment will be too big for him. Obviously Dan Quinn's been to a Super Bowl before. Obviously it was in very unceremonious fashion where he had a 28-3 lead on the GOAT and Tom Brady came back on him with the Atlanta Falcons. But I absolutely think that would be a good matchup, Jaden Daniels versus Patrick Mahomes. We saw last year in the Super Bowl that trench play was super, super important. We saw that the reason why the Eagles were able to corral Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is because they had an excellent elite defensive line and pass rush. I don't think the Commanders have that. I think the Chiefs will be able to put up points on the Commanders' defense. They're going to have Rashee Rice back, who is a very integral part of their system. They still got Isaiah Pacheco. I still think Kelsey's still there. They got Noah Gray, another good tight end. They got some good receivers there. It's going to be a tough beat for sure. The Chiefs are still a really good team, really good defense as well that throws a lot of interesting stuff at the opposing quarterbacks. I wouldn't count the Commanders out, but I do think if I had to bet my life on it, I think I'm probably going to go with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in that one. Then we got JD5, says, where would you rank our defense and offense for the coming year? I don't have a list of teams on me right now, but just speaking about offense, I would say, once again, a top 5 offense. They were pretty much a top 5 offense last year. I expect them to be top 5 again this year. Then defensively, they were below average, maybe cracking the top 20, but it really wasn't a remarkable group. I think this year they cracked the top 15, and they are an above average defense this year. And when you combine an elite offense with an above-average defense, that gives you a chance to win a Super Bowl and to win the division even over the Eagles. Got one from DJ KJ, says, do Commanders need to make a trade for a defensive player? I don't think they necessarily need to, but they would certainly want to, especially if it's a guy like Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson is the type of presence that changes the dynamic for a defense because he gets a lot of attention, a lot of double teams. It opens up opportunities for everybody else on the defensive line, and it gives the Commanders an opportunity to get to the passer without having to get creative, without throwing exotic blitzes at the quarterback, without doing stunts in games that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. love to do. With Trey Hendrickson, you could just line up Trey on the outside and then let him go to work, and that's something that's a big-time value, especially late in the football game. And I think that he's the type of player that can elevate the defense from, like I said just a moment ago, I think they'll be an above-average defense this year. But if you get Trey Hendrickson, now we're talking about top 10 level defense. Maybe, I don't know if they'd crack the top 5, but they would definitely be a legitimately good NFL defense and get this team that much closer to winning a Super Bowl. I'll tell you guys this, all right? I predicted the Chiefs in that Super Bowl matchup. I think if you bring Trey Hendrickson here to Washington, they win the Super Bowl in that matchup. Tell me down there in the comments section, do the Commanders need to make a trade for a defensive player before the start of the season? Yes or no? I don't think they need to, but I think it would be a hell of a move if they did. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report Mailbag. Once again, another batch of really, really good questions. We do this mailbag every single week, so if you guys want to get in on the action in future weeks, click that subscribe button, join us. We really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. All right.
There we go. 3 up, 3 down. We got a million slacks about Raiders Live. That's what.
That's okay, because I saw my phone completely blowing up, but our Raiders channel is going live right now. So is it pretty much just yelling who's helping on this?
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
And it's Wednesday, so everybody's live. So.
That's true. Yeah.
And Jeremy's not here.
And Jeremy, is he coming in?
No. Sam's gonna start off. I think Reed's gonna finish it.
Okay, cool. All right, man. Well, it's been a very interesting day for sure. It's been a fun show. Some really fun stuff that we talked about today. I hope you guys got some value out of it. Appreciate IQ Barbecue for the $100 super chat.
Boom.
Shout out to IQ. That'll be it for us today, guys. Really do appreciate all that you guys do for this community. We will see you guys next time. Until then, guys, go raise some hell.